Have you ever heard a story that begins with a single knock on the door, one that changes two lives forever? If you want more heart-touching moments like this, make sure to like this video and subscribe to Kindness Stories. Now, let me tell you what happened the day Thomas opened his front door and met the girl who would quietly turn his world upside down. Thomas Reed, a 41-year-old single dad, had lived a quiet, steady life ever since his wife passed away 3 years earlier. He worked long shifts at the local hardware store, came home exhausted, and did everything he could to support his 12-year-old son, Milo. Money was tight, sometimes painfully tight, so when rent prices in his small town surged, Thomas decided to open his extra bedroom to a tenant. He prayed for someone responsible, clean, and quiet. He never imagined he'd get her. Her name was Elise Harper, 19 years old, soft-spoken, dressed in simple jeans and a faded yellow sweater. She stood on the porch holding a suitcase that looked too old for someone her age, and Thomas assumed she was just another struggling college student searching for a cheap room. She smiled nervously as Milo peeked curiously from behind his father's legs. "Is the room still available?" she asked. Thomas nodded, instantly struck by a strange combination of warmth and worry in her eyes. He showed her around the house, apologizing for the worn furniture and squeaky floorboards, but Elise didn't mind. In fact, she seemed relieved. She accepted the room on the spot and moved in that same afternoon. What Thomas didn't know, what he couldn't have known, was that Elise was the daughter of billionaire hotel magnate Richard Harper, a man whose face regularly appeared on financial magazines. But Elise wasn't running from wealth. She was running from loneliness, from a house where love was bought instead of given, from a father who tried to build an empire but neglected his only child while doing it. To her, Thomas's small home felt more like a family than the mansion she grew up in. Little did she realize just how deeply she would become woven into this father and son's life, or how her secret would one day burst into the open in a way none of them expected. Within weeks, Elise blended into Thomas and Milo's life, as if she had always belonged there. She helped Milo with homework, cooked dinner when Thomas came home late, and filled the house with a gentle presence that felt like sunlight returning to a room long kept dark. She laughed easily, listened kindly, and carried a sadness in her eyes that neither of them wanted to pry into. But things began to change the day Elise's past caught up with her. One evening, while Thomas was tightening a loose pipe under the kitchen sink, he heard a sharp knock at the door. Milo rushed to open it and froze. Standing on the porch was a tall man in a dark tailored suit, flanked by 2 security guards. His expression was carved from stone. "I'm looking for my daughter," he said. Thomas wiped his hands on a rag and stepped forward. "I'm sorry, sir, I think you have the wrong house." But then Elise appeared behind them, pale as moonlight. "Dad?" she whispered. Thomas felt as if the ground shifted beneath him. "Daughter, this man?" Elise tried to explain. Her father's controlling nature, her desire for space, her longing for a life where love wasn't measured in investments or status. But her father barely heard her. His gaze traveled around the modest living room, the second-hand furniture, the peeling wallpaper, and Thomas felt suddenly small. "So this is where you've been?" the billionaire scoffed. "With strangers? With a man who rents out rooms to survive?" Elise stepped between them. "Dad, stop. They're not strangers. They're family." For a moment the world fell silent. Thomas felt a warmth spread through his chest, an emotion he hadn't dared let himself feel since his wife passed. Elise looked at him with eyes full of gratitude, eyes that saw him not as a poor single father, but as a man who had given her more kindness in a month than her father had in years. The billionaire's expression softened, ever so slightly. He realized something that night: love couldn't be bought, and his daughter had found something priceless in a humble home. He didn't take her away. Instead, he left with a quiet promise to try, really try, to understand her. As his car drove off, Elise turned back to Thomas and Milo with tears glistening. "Thank you," she whispered, "for giving me a family when I had none." And from that moment on, their home wasn't just a place to live, it was a place to heal. If this story warmed your heart, remember to like this video and subscribe to Kindness Stories for more touching tales.